So I've had some questions about how to give late passes to students after the assignments. So I wanted to take a moment to show you how to do that. So let's say, for instance, your class is just really falling behind and you want to grant exceptions to multiple students at a time. In other words, you want to grant late passes. Well, there are ways to do that using Canvas and Lumen. I really call it a two-step process. The first step is you have to make sure you have the correct date set in Canvas. And the way we do that, and the way I do it, the easiest way I've found, is to go in on the left side on our menu bar to Assignments. And once we're in Assignments, we can individually select the assignments and work individually on the ones that we want to change. Or if there's a big group, like you want to extend and make late passes for all your homework, well, then you want to do a group mass change. And to do that, we go up here in the upper right corner where it says Assignment Settings. There's these three dots. So we click this in Canvas and we click on Edit Assignment Dates. So in Canvas, we're going to edit the assignment dates. It's going to take a moment while they load, but my idea is what I do is I have a due date set for the assignments, but I want students to have 1 week afterwards, kind of like a grace period, to turn the assignment in. After that week, the assignment closes and they no longer have access to that assignment. To make that happen, I have two dates that I have to pay attention to. You'll notice when you go into this batch edit, this edit assignment dates category, you'll get all your assignments for the course. And so here again, you can just choose the ones you want to change, or you can do them all. You have your first column here, which is the due at, and that you can change by just clicking on the calendar if you want to change its due date. But let's say, okay, I like the due dates. These are all due September 7th. These are due September 10th. But I want to make it so that the students have an extra week to turn that assignment in. Well, then what I'm going to do is go over to this column Available Until, and I'm going to make this date 1 week after the due date. So instead of September 10th, as the due date and it closing, I'm going to leave the assignment available till Friday, September 17th, 1 week later. Now this Available From column, this you can use if you want to have a start date. I choose not to have start dates. All of my assignments are open the whole semester, so I just have those blank. But I have set it up so I have my due dates and they are available until 1 week after. Once you make all those changes and set all the dates as you wish them to go, then you want to make sure you hit the Save button over here on the right. And that's all you have to do in Canvas, really. You have to make sure you have a due and then an available until. The next thing you have to do is go into Lumen OHM. And you can either log directly into Lumen OHM, or the other cool thing is in Canvas, I'm going to go into my modules, we can access Lumen through Canvas. And so this is pretty cool. You're going to pick a Lumen assignment right here, and you're going to click on it. And when you do, the Module 1 review is a good one because I know that goes straight into the Lumen assignments. I'll see this little key here that says LTI Home, this little cookie here. And when I click that, it actually puts me into Lumen Learning Assessment right here, what's showing up in Lumen Learning. I'm going to click either on Settings or Questions, and that's going to put me into the actual assessment itself. And I could make changes directly here, but instead I want to do this mass change idea. And so I'm going to actually instead go up here to the cookie, which is Math 120E-3012. And this here will take me into my Lumen Learning Math 120E 3012 shell. And so for those of you guys that are working in Lumen Learning or have been into the back end, this should look familiar. This is exactly what's appearing in the back end of Canvas. Our job now is twofold. We have to make sure that students have late passes assigned to them, and then we have to make sure the assessments allow for late passes. So to make sure that students have late passes assigned, we go into our gray area Tools right here and we click on Roster. And what the roster does is it brings up all of the students in our class. This is also where you can check their grades and do other things like check individual and also set other kinds of assignments, like if you have to do time extensions and things. But that being said, I'm getting distracted. In this area in the roster, right here at the top, it says View Login Grid, but then right next to it, it says Manage LatePasses. So I'm going to click on Manage LatePasses. I want to set my late pass, and I set it for 168 hours. That's 1 week, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So each late pass that a student begins lasts for 1 week. So I set mine for 168. You can make it for whatever you want to make it for. And then underneath, what you can do is now put and make sure that all the students have late passes. So I've pre-assigned to my students 100 late passes. But let's say we want to add to these students 50 more. So I would type 50 to all students and add, and now all of a sudden all of my students have 150 instead of 100, right? So you can add right here to all the students the amount of late passes that you want to add. I would make sure I gave at least 1 late pass per assignment if you're going to make your late pass 1 week each. That being said, once you're done, then you hit Save Changes, and now those changes have been applied. So now when you go back to the roster, you can see name, last access, grades, and the late passes that have all been given to the students. All right, so now that we know students have late passes, we have to make sure our certain assessments allow for that. So we're going to go back up here into the Math 120E-3012 shell, and I'm going to now go into the assessments themselves. And we can accomplish this by either going into individual assessments in our modules, or by going over here to the Mass Change feature and clicking on Assessments. Once you're in the assessments, it preloads you to check all of the assessments, but maybe you don't want to give late passes on everything. So let me check None, and then individually pick the ones that I want to give late passes on. Maybe because my video lessons are always open, I don't need to worry about that, but let me just give late passes on my homeworks and my preps, and I want my quizzes not to have late passes, let's just say. So you can go through and just select which ones you want to have late passes for, and which modules or wherever you want to have them done. And once you make those selections, you can go and continue to change settings. Now you can go and continue from the bottom, or you can also get to the same place by going to the tab on the top. But we are now going to go to Change Settings, and the setting change will only apply to those that we've check marked. So going to Change Settings, there's a whole lot of options here, but we're focusing again right now on late passes. So we want to scroll all the way down until we get to the place where it says Time Limit and Access Control. Click on Time Limit and Access Control, and the first option is Allow Use of Late Passes. Well, if you don't have any late passes set, then you're going to go in and allow late passes. I usually allow 1 late pass per assignment, but you could do multiple late passes depending on how long you want your late passes to last for. So you have that flexibility. Usually I would do up to 1, but again, you can choose the flexible how many late passes per assessment you want them to have. And then you also want to make sure you check this, allow late passes after due date. That way, once the due date has set in Canvas, the students will still be allowed to use their late pass up until it becomes unavailable. All right, so once you get that checked, then you scroll down and you hit Apply Changes. Now, I do want to point out one more thing. Right now, I've set it my late passes so that students don't lose any credit when they do late passes. It's simply a late pass allows them to do an extension, and they'll get full credit for any work that they do up to a week later. Maybe you want to make a penalty. So maybe you want to say, okay, you can do a late pass, but I'm going to deduct 5% off of your grade. To do that, you would add one more feature right here under grading and feedback. And that is right here, if you scroll down to the very last thing, it says penalty for questions done while in exception or late pass. So if you wanted to put a 5% penalty or a 10% penalty, you type that in, and again, like before, hit apply changes, and that will cause all the changes to go in. So that's it in a nutshell. To get out of this, we can simply click over here, and that will take us out of this LTI option. But that's it in a nutshell. There are two settings that you need to do. You need to set your dates in Canvas under assignments, and then you need to go into an assessment and go into your LTI either through Canvas, or you can do the same thing by going into Lumen OHM and setting late passes and assigning them to students. I know this was a lot, but if you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'll be happy to